Okay, let's picture this. You open your laptop, right? And maybe before the screen even fully lights up, you feel it, that sudden spike in your heart rate.
Oh yeah, the dread.
Exactly. Your inbox is just this chaotic sea. Notifications are pinging constantly, and somehow every single task in your project list has been labeled, maybe a bit optimistically, urgent.
Everything's urgent, always.
We've all felt that intense pressure, haven't we?
Yeah.
That feeling like you have to fix everything right now. But, that state of constant sort of generalized urgency, that's probably the single biggest enemy to getting real work done.
It really is. Because if everything is shouting for your attention at the same time, you either freeze up, paralyzed by choice, or maybe worse, you just start frantically chasing whichever task screamed loudest.
Regardless of whether it actually matters in the grand scheme of things.
Precisely.
So our mission in this deep dive is really to shortcut that whole chaotic reaction. We've pulled together some great insights to introduce you to what we're calling the triage framework.
A triage framework.
Yeah, it's a strategic 4-step system. And it's designed specifically to help you move from being that overwhelmed firefighter to becoming a more deliberate, strategic leader.
And it's so critical to understand the cost of staying in that reactive mode. It's high.
How so?
Well, think about it. When you try to tackle 10 things at once, you're not really dividing your effort efficiently. You're actually just diluting it.
Diluting it, okay.
Yeah, every single time you switch tasks, jump from an email to a spreadsheet, then take a quick call, you pay this kind of steep mental penalty. Some of the sources call it cognitive residue.
Cognitive residue. Like leftover thoughts.
Exactly. It's that thought from the last task still lingering in your head, making it harder to focus on the next one. It increases your chances of making mistakes, and honestly, it just dramatically speeds up burnout.
So you feel busy.
Oh, you feel incredibly busy. You're running purely on adrenaline. But the actual work you manage to complete, it's often shallow, and frankly, it's just not sustainable long term.
We saw this really clearly in that anecdote, didn't we? About the leader juggling just an unbelievable number of deliverables all in one week.
Yeah, I remember that one. This clients, internal projects, constant fire drills.
Right, and the natural instinct, the gut reaction was just to try and touch everything. Make a little bit of progress on every single item on the list.
And what was the result? Total exhaustion and zero real satisfaction.
Yeah.
The sources pointed out that by Friday, this leader was completely spent. And because no single major task was actually finished or even protected, clients ended up disappointed, the team felt strained, and all that important strategic work completely stalled. It's like trying to put Band-Aids on minor cuts when the patient is actually bleeding out.
That's a powerful image.
Strategic prioritization has to come first. You just can't treat everything at once.
Okay, so let's unpack this framework then, because it sounds like it provides the structure we need to kind of halt that chaos. It's 4 steps, you said.
That's right. Simple, clear progression. Triage, then stabilize, then anchor, and finally, drop or defer.
Got it. Triage, stabilize, anchor, drop, or defer. Let's start at the top. Step 1, triage.
Right.
This sounds like emergency care, like you said. The goal here is ruthless focus.
Exactly. Ruthless focus. You're looking for what is truly bleeding, not just, the task attached to the loudest notification sound.
Right. Identifying immediate, potentially catastrophic harm.
Precisely. In a hospital, triage identifies life threats. In our work context, we're identifying threats to maybe your reputation, your finances, or key opportunities. Things that will genuinely cost you today if they're ignored.
So cutting through the noise.
Cutting through all the organizational noise. So you need to ask yourself 3 very specific triage questions. Ready?
Lay them on me.
First, what has an immovable external deadline? Think regulations, contracts, a critical client commitment that just can't slip.
Okay. Immovable deadline.
Second, what specific thing will cost money, reputation, or a major opportunity right now, like within the next hour if it just sits there ignored?
Cost today. Got it.
And third, what task is currently acting as a single hard blocker, something that's preventing multiple people or other important projects from moving forward at all?
That third one feels really key. A bottleneck. But let me push back a bit here, because defining bleeding can feel subjective sometimes.
They can, yeah.
How do we handle, say, pressure from a senior leader? Or maybe a really high-maintenance stakeholder who thinks the request is an active fire, when strategically looking at those questions, it just isn't.
That's where the rigor of the framework is so important. You have to filter that emotional noise, that pressure, through those 3 objective criteria we just discussed.
Okay.
Does it have an immovable deadline today? Will it cost tangible things today? Is it blocking multiple others today? If the answer isn't a clear yes to at least one of those,
That's not triage.
it's not triage. You absolutely acknowledge the stakeholder's concern. You communicate clearly about when you plan to address it, maybe explaining briefly why other things take precedence right now based on impact. But you don't stop treating the genuinely bleeding patient just to fetch a minor bandage.
Okay, so those become step 2 or maybe even step 4 tasks, not step 1.
Exactly. You handle the true emergencies first.
Brilliant. Okay, so once those immediate fires are out, the patient is, let's say, stable enough, we move to step 2. Stabilize.
Right.
The fire's contained, but now we need to secure the scene. Clear the air, clear some operational space, like putting in stitches you mentioned.
That's a great way to think about it. Stabilizing is all about maximizing your operational efficiency and, crucially, reducing your cognitive load. We need to clear the decks a bit.
Okay.
One concept the sources highlight here is really useful, focusing on high-leverage minimum effort tasks.
High leverage, minimum effort. Okay, sounds good. What does that mean?
These are basically small wins. Quick hits that dramatically reduce the overall noise in your environment so you can actually start thinking clearly again.
Reducing the noise.
I like that. So to stabilize, you ask yourself things like, what clears a bottleneck for me or my team that maybe only takes 15 minutes?
So not deep work.
No, definitely not deep work yet. This is more like administrative surgery. A quick decision, sending off a sign-off, providing that one key piece of information that just gets a task completely off your mental plate.
Gets it out of your head.
Exactly. Or ask, what specific quick action reduces the sheer number of open threads cluttering up your working memory? These tasks buy you incredibly valuable mental space. And that mental space, that's probably the most critical resource you actually have.
Yeah, I really appreciate the emphasis on the cognitive benefit there. We often forget how much background processing power gets eaten up just by having, say, 20 open tasks versus maybe 4. By clearing that space, you're not just being tidier, you're literally improving your capacity for deeper thought later on.
Precisely. You're reducing that task-switching debt we talked about earlier. You're paying it down so you have more capacity.
Makes sense. Okay, so immediate chaos handled, triage, stability achieved, stabilize. Now we get to step 3, anchor.
Yes.
This sounds like where we prevent ourselves from just falling back into that perpetual firefighter mode, shifting from reactive problem solving to proactive value creation.
That's exactly it. What's fascinating here is that the first 2 steps are very tactical. They're focused squarely on the present, on getting through the immediate mess.
Right.
Anchoring, though, is purely strategic. This step forces you deliberately to step away from the inbox, away from the immediate demands, and look at your strategic blueprint, your bigger goals.
Okay, so the questions must change quite a bit here.
Radically. Now you're asking.
Yeah.
Which of these remaining items tie directly to my 3 most critical long-term goals for, say, this quarter?
Connecting to the big picture.
Yes. And also, what work, if I choose to do it now, will actually move the needle 30 or even 60 days from now? What ensures future stability and growth? This is where you consciously choose to invest time in, let's call it, preventative maintenance, building that strategic momentum towards what truly matters long-term rather than just responding to whatever happened yesterday.
So anchor tasks are kind of the investment that prevents the need for a future triage task down the line.
That's an excellent way to put it.
If you don't anchor, you end up incurring what we could maybe call perpetual tactical debt. You're always paying off yesterday's emergencies.
Perpetual tactical debt. I like that. Yeah. For example, if your big goal is launching a new product component in 60 days, an anchor task today isn't tweaking the final packaging design.
No. What is it then?
It's maybe building the internal communication framework now so the sales team doesn't hit the panic button in week 5 because they weren't prepared. It's foundational work.
Got it. Strategic foresight.
Right.
Which brings us then to what you suggested might be the most difficult step. Step 4, drop or defer.
Yes, the letting go part.
This requires getting radically honest with yourself, you said, which often means facing down.
Guilt. Definitely guilt. Most people really resist this step because there's this underlying feeling that they must complete every single item that lands on their list, as if the goal is just checking boxes.
Yeah, that feels familiar.
But the real goal isn't checking boxes. It's achieving the highest possible strategic impact. And that inherently means ruthlessly discarding or postponing low-value work.
Okay, so how do we get ruthless? How do we interrogate the list?
You need to interrogate it based purely on strategy, not on perceived obligation or habit.
Yeah.
That guilt often comes from tasks that got added simply because we've always done them or because we felt bad saying no at the time.
Right, the shoulds.
Exactly. So ask these key honest questions. What is on this list purely because I feel guilty about it rather than it aligning with steps 1, 2, or 3?
Okay, guilt check.
Second, what is genuinely someone else's emergency? A task that another person or maybe a whole different team should actually own entirely.
Ooh, delegation or redirection?
Yes. And third, what can realistically wait until next week or even next month without causing any immediate harm or significant negative consequences?
The deferral question.
Right. And the key here is to give yourself explicit, maybe even written permission to either eliminate the task entirely or push it far back on the calendar. But if you give it a committed check-in date so it doesn't just fall into a black hole.
That permission feels like the key. That's a fuel for maintaining energy and focus, isn't it?
Yeah.
Not carrying the weight of things you aren't actually going to do so.
It absolutely is.
But, even with this really structured approach, triage, stabilize, anchor, drop, defer, there's still a common trap waiting for us, isn't there, right when we start? Analysis paralysis.
Yes, the overthinking trap.
I know I've fallen into this. I've spent way too much time ranking things, resorting lists, color-coding everything, building these complex little flowcharts of priorities.
Sounds familiar.
That anecdote from the source material about spending 30 minutes organizing the list before spending 10 minutes actually doing anything, that was basically me.
That behavior is exactly what this framework helps disrupt. Analysis paralysis is so sneaky, though, because it feels productive, doesn't it?
Totally. You're managing information, getting organized.
Right. You believe you're moving forward, but you're not, really. You're simply postponing the necessary decision, the often slightly uncomfortable decision of choosing one thing and just doing it.
And that postponement costs us.
It costs invaluable time and, maybe more importantly, momentum.
I think the underlying fear there, for me at least, is making the wrong choice. That fear that if I start on task A, I'll suddenly realize that task B was the real fire all along.
Yep. That fear of missing the optimal first step.
So we freeze. We just stare at the list. What's the tactical solution when you feel that specific cognitive lock setting in?
Okay, the tactical solution is pretty simple, actually. It's introducing a time box decision rule.
Time boxing the decision itself.
Exactly. The sources suggest something like a 2-minute triage limit. If, after 2 solid minutes of applying those framework questions, triage, stabilize, anchor them, you still cannot definitively decide which task is the absolute top priority.
Then what?
Then you must immediately select the task that offers the largest potential for stability, remember step 2, or the one that seems to have the highest leverage, the one that clears the most space.
Don't keep debating.
Do not allow the choice to consume more time than the actual task itself might take. Pick the item that clears the most clutter, physical or mental, and just start. Just begin doing it.
And trust that the next right step will become clearer.
Almost always. The next right step becomes infinitely clearer once you create that initial movement. It breaks the cycle of indecision.
That move first mentality. That feels like the bridge between just planning and actual strategic action.
It really is. So if we try to synthesize what we've discussed here, I think the key thing to remember is that the most strategic work, the truly important stuff, it rarely shouts for your attention.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it often just waits quietly, patiently to be chosen. Your job isn't to deplete yourself trying to do absolutely everything that comes your way.
No, it isn't.
Your real job is to use discernment, use this framework to identify what truly matters most, and then act on that with protected focus.
Okay, so for everyone listening, when you're staring at that overwhelming list tomorrow morning, maybe start with these 3 core questions, just to apply the framework immediately and stop the chaos.
Good idea. What are they?
First, what stops the bleeding? That's triage. Second, what stabilizes the situation and reduces the noise? That's stabilize. And third, what aligns with your future and builds strategic momentum? That's anchor.
Bleed, stabilize, align. Simple and powerful.
Right. Bleed, stabilize, align.
And maybe we can leave folks with that piece of wisdom from Stephen Covey. It just perfectly frames the shift we're talking about from being purely reactive to becoming strategic.
Which quote is that?
He said, "The key is not to prioritize what's on your schedule, but to schedule your priorities."
Schedule your priorities. That flips it, doesn't it? It's about proactively making space for what matters.
Exactly. Putting the big rocks in first.
So ultimately, leadership and maybe just effective work in general, it isn't really about being perpetually busy, is it? It's not about exhausting yourself by trying to touch everything.
No, not at all.
It sounds like it's much more about the courage, maybe, and the boldness required to truly prioritize, to confidently say no or not now to the non-essential stuff.
So that you have the time and energy to say a powerful yes to the critical work, the work that actually moves things forward.
Well said.